At this point in Alien Earth, midway through the season, are we getting more suspense and thriller vibes, or is the TV show setting us up for something bigger towards the end? I've seen people say they expect a predator to show up. I don't expect that to happen at all. But although this TV show and this universe, the Alien Predator universe, from what I've heard and have read, is heading towards another Alien Predator event, aka movie. I do not believe a predator is going to show up in this show. I think that would expand the universe, if not universe, it would expand the show too fast, and it really would take away from the world that they've built in the show through the first 4 episodes. And I just don't think that would be a smart thing to do. But episode 4, Observation, gives us more experiments. We get new dangers. In my opinion, there is clearly something lurking around the corner, especially with the tadpole now hatching out of Joe's lung. And then we know the corporate shadows are starting to be brought up more, and they're starting to creep into the show. We've heard of the Power of Five. We heard the story behind the Power of Five, and we'll dig into some of that in a moment. But some of the plot highlights from the episode that I picked up on was that the Project Corporation's compound is clearly going to be ground zero for whatever catastrophe is coming up in the very near future. Um, Wendy has this weird, motherly, empathetic, like connection to the baby Xenomorphs, or the Xenomorphs in general. She has some type of connection to the Xenos, and it reminds me a lot of Ripley 8. We'll dig into that. And this episode also just gives us a lot of what good shows really give us. A lot of character development, world development, and it also has corporate manipulation, which we all love. We all love a good corporate bad guy story, somebody lurking in the shadows. There are a lot of good shows like that on right now. And the one that comes to mind would be The Institute. But anyways, so this TV show, this episode opens with Wendy waking up from passing out in the previous episode. She is there with Boy Cavalier and 2 other doctors, and a woman that I cannot remember her name right now. But she's in the lab with them, and she wakes up, and as we learned in the last episode, she has some type of weird connection to the Xenomorphs. So they're doing experiments on her, and they learn through these experiments and through her telling them that basically she has the ability to connect with the Xenomorphs. And this lights up Boy Cavalier. He loves this. He is ecstatic about it. And he goes as far as to basically threaten her brother, basically that, if you don't keep doing these experiments and basically doing what I want you to do, then your brother can't stay here anymore, because obviously she wants to be with her brother because she's still a child in whatever mind or consciousness that she has. Then we go into, they later explore some of the new specimens. I shouldn't say new specimens, because the eyeball spider specimen has been in the show every episode. But in this particular episode, they run a test with it on a lamb. So it crawls out of a little chute and it goes on the floor, and the lamb is clearly creeped out by, I mean, I would be too. So it latches onto the lamb's face and it just sucks his eyeball out, plops it out, and it's just dangling from his face or whatnot. It's crazy. It's a beautiful scene. But it's clearly parasitic in nature, and I'm not sure how intelligent it is, but Kirsch clearly points out, and he recognizes that this is an intelligent creature, because after it takes over the lamb's body and basically reanimates, it stands up on its hind legs like a person would, trying to imitate all the people in the room that were watching it. I don't know at any point if it realized it was an animal or something that needed to be on all fours, but it did go back down. But the fact that it stood up, very, very creepy, and just had his head with the eyeball, and they were just facing forward. Like it was not hair raising, but it was just a very odd and weird scene, and beautifully shot, and something that we really haven't gotten in the Alien universe either. So that was good to see. And I don't know what their plan is for the eyeball spider, but everybody in the room, including the synthetics, seem to be very, very cautious with this particular alien. But speaking of Kirsch, he figures out, I mean, he started to figure it out the last episode, but he watches a video back and he sees when Morrow has his hand around um, Slightly's neck and the little um, whatever he put into him that where he can communicate with him. So now Kirsch is on to Morrow and the plan that he has to try to steal one of the alien eggs, because he reveals that in the episode. And I'm not sure who's manipulating who, and because Morrow thinks that he's manipulating Slightly by, basically, I don't know if he kidnapped this mother because it kind of like his location changed, but he found Slightly's birth mother and, he's trying to manipulate him, all while Kirsch is hearing everything. So he clearly knows what's going on. So I'm not sure. And we learned in the previous episode that they can see through the people's eyes and, well, the synthetic eyes, they can see through them and they can hear everything that they're saying on their computers. So I don't know how much control, and they obviously haven't told us yet how much control they have over the synthetics, but I'm willing to bet that Kirsch is laying some type of trap for Morrow. So then after that, we jump into the cracks that are starting to be exposed among the Lost Boys. We have Curly. She starts lashing out, because obviously she wants to replace Wendy and she's trying to figure all that out, because Boy Cavalier even makes a comment to her about, hey, you can speak French, but can you translate alien? He's an asshole. Then we have Nibs, who thinks she's pregnant, and even if she was a real child, she has never came into contact with a person and never had sex in any type of way. So it's all in her mind, and she feels like she's pregnant or whatever, which is impossible in this scenario, unless obviously she got a face hugger on her and then it would pop out of anything. Actually, I can't remember. Somebody tell me down in the comments and remind me. Can the face huggers impregnate or put the tadpole, which becomes a xenomorph, can they put it inside of a synthetic? I can't remember if that's happened or not. But please let me know down in the comments if that has happened, and let me know when, so I can go verify it for myself and go refresh my memory. But other than that, we just touched on Nibs. So after the whole Nibs, she pounces on the doctor in the middle of the therapy session and gets offered tea when the doctor pushes the button for basically to get her the hell up out of here, because I don't know if she's going to kill me or what's going to happen, but get this synthetic that thinks she's pregnant out of my face. Meanwhile, Boy Cavalier, obviously, he forces Wendy into research. And I don't really think he had to force her into research, but because she seems, even though obviously she wants to go with her brother and go back home, she also seems to want to be around the labs and be around the Xenomorphs because of this connection that she has. So yeah, he forces her or coerces her to basically continue to research, but I'm not sure how much he really had to do, because it seems like this is what she kind of wanted to do anyways because of the connection. If she didn't have a connection, I'm not sure if she would want to do it or not. We have basically the climax of the episode when we see the Xenomorph poking around in Joe's old rib because he has a new, not rib, old lung, because he has a new lung now. We see the Xenomorph pounce around and it bursts out. We see the blood and it busts through the glass and it jumps on the table. And, Kirsch is obviously lurking in the background, watching everything that happens because that's just what he does. But while this is happening, the baby Xeno that's slithering around on the table like a snake, Wendy is just, in my opinion, too cool for school. She is very, very calm. She approaches it close, like, it looks like a puppy that just met its new owner for the first time, because it wants to come, but then it backs up, then it gets closer, then it backs up again. And so, then she touches it, and it's just, she clearly has some type of motherly connection or to the Xenomorphs, or at least this particular one, the motherly connection, but she can connect to the other ones as well. And that brings me to my Ripley 8 point. And I made this point in last episode. And for those of you who haven't seen Alien Resurrection, Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character. In this movie, she's Ripley 8. She is a synthetic in this movie. She is the 8th clone of the original Ripley. So that's, and this is far after this TV show. If you know the timeline of this TV show, Alien Resurrection is currently the last thing that happens in this current universe. It's after all the Alien movies. It's after this. It's after Prometheus, Alien Covenant. It's the last movie. Technically, it's the last event in this franchise currently. So, with that being said, I'm not sure if the technology that's being developed now and learning that Wendy has a connection to the Xenomorphs, is that the same thing that Ripley 8 becomes later in several hundred years from now in the future, according to the alien timeline? That's just my theory. I believe that there's, in my opinion, there's clearly some connection between Wendy and Ripley 8, and or because they clearly use that piece of that movie to build this part of the show, because Ripley 8 and Wendy are doing the same things as far as their connections to the Xenos. Ripley's was just a little different because at a time where I think when they were making the movies where we felt like there had to be an alien queen to make the eggs and stuff like that. You know, Ripley 8 had a connection with the alien queen in that movie and stuff like that. And throughout the whole movie, she could hear the alien queen making sounds because she was pregnant. She was getting ready to have babies. Like, she knew everything the alien queen was feeling. And that's a lot like what Wendy has going on in this show right now. Some of the emerging themes that I see coming down the road are this hybrid that Wendy is and the psychic bond. Like, what will it be? Will it, when everything hits the fan at some point in the near future in these episodes, is it going to help them? Is it going to basically doom them? Or like maybe a combination of both? Like, what will Wendy's powers, in you guys' opinion, what will it do? Because in Alien Resurrection, I would say it was a little bit of both. She helped save the crew on board, but she also was trying to protect the aliens as well. And I don't think she was very happy about how that movie ended. So I don't know this, but this seems to have a lot of that direction in a sense as far as the story plot goes for just Wendy's storyline. As far as the relationship she's building with the Xenomorphs. Um, we have scientific ethics versus survival. Boy Cavalier, this for Prodigy. Obviously, he's a genius teenager. He pushes every limit and every line possible. He will step over it. He will go as far as he wants or feels like he wants to or can to accomplish whatever goal that he's trying to accomplish. In this scenario, with the connection to the Xenomorphs, you know, there's always money and military and stuff like that. They just had a war. They described the whole Power of Five story to us about how there used to be a government, but then these 5 corporations took over and cleaned up the entire world, which is a crazy story in itself, because if the Power 5 companies took over the world and cleaned up all the problems and everything's better now after this war, to a degree, obviously, did the 5 corporations cause the problems to begin with? Which I wonder if that would even be explored, but it's a question to be asked. Did the 5 companies that took over the world, did they cause the problems in order to be able to clean them up, to take over everything? Because now we have 5 giant corporations basically running the earth. And tell me what you guys think. Is the real threat in this show? It's definitely not the aliens. It's not. The aliens are going to be aliens. They're going to kill stuff. They're going to take over stuff, and they're going to do that thing. But in my opinion, and maybe I'm answering my own question, but please let me know what you guys think. I believe that clearly the humans, maybe even the synthetics, but you know, the corporations are going to play a big role in being a major threat to whatever is happening. I think that like The Walking Dead and like some other world building shows, I think that the way that we're being positioned with numerous and potential antagonistic figures, I believe that the corporations will eventually start to show their head and that they're pushing some of these agendas onto some of these people. Just my opinion. Maybe not a lot, like it may be in Morrow's case, why does he feel like this is his mission to get the eggs back? How do we know that? Because he's a cyborg. How do we know that Wayland Yutani didn't plant whatever in his head or he thinks is coming for Mother for him to feel that way? So that's why I say that the corporations will have a narrative in this show in some way, because somebody is pushing these agendas. And Boy Cavalier just happens to be the face of his organization, which I don't believe is part of Power Five, but clearly he wants to become a major player in this world. I'm gonna get into my chaos checklist. It'll be short this time, I'm pretty sure, because this episode wasn't that chaotic, but it had a few chaotic points. The main one being Wendy and her getting real up close and personal with the alien xenomorph. I don't know what the hell she has going on with these xenomorphs. Like I said before, I think it's a lot like Ripley 8's connection to the xenomorphs, but whatever she has going on is not necessarily breaking franchise norms. It's just not something that we normally see in the alien franchise where anybody can connect with the aliens. We have the eyeball spider, taking over the lamb. That was interesting, standing up like a human, even though it's not a human and it didn't take over a human body, but it clearly is very intelligent. The cracks in the Lost Boys, they're starting to fall apart within their own group. One's been manipulated, two are going, one's jealous, one is maybe having a psychotic break. I wonder what the eyeball spider did to Nibs that has her. I mean, she is a child in the mind and in her consciousness. So kids get scared and they pull away and they go into their little comfort zones or whatever. And I'm not sure if that's why she thinks she's pregnant or not. But with that being said, why the hell does she think she's pregnant? I don't know. That was an interesting Easter egg to throw out there. I got to go back and research, can the synthetics get pregnant, because that's something that I'm curious about. But we're clearly going to see some Curly versus Wendy. We're going to see more of the moral manipulation onto Slightly, and the Lost Boys are not like in the Peter Pan movie. They're starting to fall apart. And the only thing that I want to point out that wasn't necessarily in the show this episode, I believe there's going to be some type of breakout at some point. I'm not sure who's going to cause it though. Is it going to be Nibs because she's losing her mind and the eyeball spider like messed her up? I don't know if it's going to be Curly because she told Boy Cavalier to his face that she thinks she can be more than him. So is she going to try to prove a point and let the aliens go or something? Kirsch seems to have an agenda, or maybe he's just smarter than everybody, but maybe takes a backseat role and just people watches and evaluates what's going to happen and just approaches everything from that lens. There's a lot going on, and this show, series, and franchise can go a lot of different directions, in my opinion. But I do not believe that they're going to drop the Predator at all in this TV show. That would just be weird to me. Not weird, it would just be out of place and too early. I'm not sure what years the Predators are set in. I'll research that and I'll look up, and I'll have that for the next episode. But it just doesn't make any sense to me to bring, when you're trying to build a world around the alien and the xenomorph in a TV show, why drop basically its arch rival in the first season? If you were going to do anything, maybe you would tease it for another season, but I wouldn't even do that for a season 2. Maybe season 3, depending on how the movie does and what comes after that and how they build the world from Predator Badlands that's getting ready to come out. But currently, don't do it. Don't put Predator in this show. Not yet. Maybe in 2 seasons from now, but not right now. And with that being said, we are going to end with, do you feel like anybody can be trusted? My opinion, I don't. And if anybody can be trusted, who the hell do you trust? This is the mid-season. There are only 8 episodes. This is episode 4. So this is clearly observation was a good name for this episode, because this is clearly a pivotal point in the episode where, I mean, the season where, as a show, it took a step back, looked at all the storylines, and not closed them off, but it set up each storyline, in my opinion, for where each story could potentially head next. And I think this was a good episode to be in the middle, to basically push the world forward by giving us new threats, showing us that we have another Xenomorph on the scene after they killed the other one. And now things are going to start to pick up quickly, more than likely, because these Xenomorphs don't stay babies very long. So it's going to grow expeditiously. And when it does, it's going to be ready to kill. So, and I'm sure that's why Boyd Cavalier wants to see if Wendy can connect to it, because, oh, let's see if we can turn a monster into a money machine by controlling it. And with that being said, that is it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I have sound this time, and let me double check. Yes, I have sound this time. You should be able to hear me. I apologize for that. And this is definitely the last time that I will not have sound when I'm recording. And I apologize for getting this to you 2 days late. See you next time. Bye.